Hey guys, Phil from Trail Talk here, and today we're going to be looking at the 2022 Commencal bikes lineup. All right, so let's jump into it. So Commencal, direct-to-consumer brand, typically known for their great value alloy bikes, so they only really have the alloy stuff. So really kind of built for those kind of more privateer riders or someone who just wants a bulletproof bike that's not going to let them down, that has some great spec for the money. So let's jump in. We'll start off with the Metapower. That's the one that most people always ask me questions about. So starting off, we'll go to the 2022. There's going to be a mix of 2021 and 2022 bikes here, but I am on the US site because I had a few more options compared to the Australian site. But so many bikes here. But yeah, we'll start off with the Origin build. Not a huge fan of this one, just for the fact that you're kind of only really getting a rigid seat post, which on this kind of bike, I'm just not a huge fan of these days. Yes, you can upgrade over time, but most people that are buying this kind of bike want to just end pretty hard already. So yeah, it would be nice to see if they had that dropper post on that entry-level model. And then specs-wise, RockShox 35, okay fork for the price, but in this style of bike, I really think that Revelation is probably a better option. 2-piston Shimano MT501 brakes, Dior drivetrain. So not necessarily. It really would be nice to see a dropper post. And again, you're only getting a entry-level shock there, so no lockout on there. It's only the rebound adjustment there. But we'll take a quick look at the geometry while we're here, and then I'll show you my best value model in that kind of lineup. So you do get a flip chip with these. So Commencal, as I said, alloy frames, linkage actuator, single pivot. So you see you've got that pivot point there on the seat stay, and then the linkage there as well. So looking at this, size large, so super steep seat angle, 78.6, 79 depending on position, super slack head angle, 64.5, 65. So really they say it's the TR, but really I like to think of it more as an all-mountain bike and kind of almost an enduro bike for the everyman, not for the people that are pushing it at race levels. But for in Australia where we are, the trails are on the flatter side, so not super gnarly, not super steep especially the enduro races. Probably this would be a better option for you. But other than that, chain stays 435 around that. That's good. Reaches super long, 490, 494. So as you can see, they're a pretty long bike. That wheelbase there on a size large, 1257. So compared to that Siskiyou T, we were looking at the other day, that's 1220 on a trail bike. So really, I don't necessarily think of this as a true trail bike, but 140 mil rear travel, and then you're getting, I believe, 150 up front here as well. We'll jump back up to the specs, just double check that, but I believe, yeah, 150 mil travel. So we'll jump back to the lineup, and then we'll kind of get into what I think. So that model there will probably be around 2,500, which is pretty similar price to that Polygon Siskiyou T8. So I kind of not a big fan of that pricing on that one there, but we'll jump onto the entry-level model with the dropper post. So that's the Commencal Meta TR Ride, so $32.99. And the specs on this one, so you're getting that Revelation, so nice fork there. You can upgrade it if you want into that charger damper in the future. So really upgradable there. Select Plus rear shock, so you're getting that lockout too. Brakes, SRAM Guide T, so at least you're getting 4 pistons. Not my favorite 4-piston brakes. The Guide T is not the most amount of power. I've noticed on Commencal bikes, the brakes that they choose on a lot of the bikes don't really make a lot of sense. They kind of spec this a lot more as like a trail bike, but most people are going to be riding pretty gnarly terrain, so it would be nice to see better brakes and piggyback shocks on these a little bit earlier in the lineup. But yeah, again, not necessarily the smartest spec, but it's pretty good. You're getting decent tires on it as well, so that's a good option there. But I think that's a decent value build if you're looking at but I think the value that you're really getting out of the Commencals is if you're spending just that next tier up. So onto the essential build, this is $37.99, but you're starting to really get some really good spec for the money. So that's where I'd probably recommend most people. And if you're looking at Commencal, that's kind of the price point that most people will be looking at. You kind of, if you're getting Commencal, you know you want a good descending bike. So you're kind of happy to spend a little bit more. But you're getting the 36 DPS shocks. It would be nice to see the DP X2 on here. So got that piggyback on there, but you are getting SLX 2 pistons. Again, nice to see there's 4 pistons, but not a deal breaker. The 2-piston SLX brakes is still pretty powerful. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with these. Again, you take that next step up to like the TR race and stuff like that. That's where you're getting ridiculous specs. You're getting ultimate level suspension, mid-level drivetrain, but you're getting it where you want it. So that's probably my pick of the bunch, the race option on most of the builds. So when it comes to value, probably going to give them a good here. Could be a little bit better on some of them, but as you're getting towards those more expensive bikes in the lineup, you're getting some really good value. So let's jump on to the new Meta SX. So this one's a new one for this year. You're getting a mullet setup on these. So we'll jump onto the entry-level model here. So as you see, mullet, rear 27.5, front 29. But the spec on this one, again, not necessarily the best. Again, that Domain, which is a new kind of fork that's similar to the Zeb, but a more budget option. You're getting that. You're not getting drop posts here, but I feel like this is kind of more for someone who's looking more from that free ride side of things. So they might not want to drop post, but you only got a inline shock on there. So that's probably a deal breaker for some people on that one. But yeah, as you spend a little bit more, that SX, so that ride model, as we looked on the TR, is probably kind of the entry level where I'd recommend most people, but the money is going to be best spent on these more essential builds. That's probably where I think the best value is. And then if not, that next step up. So we'll look at this one a bit closer. We'll dig into the geometry first a bit more. So this one's really going to be one for the pinners out there, getting towards that more free ridey side of things, super enduro kind of bikes. You're looking 63.6 head angle or 64, depending on where you are on the flip chip, 78 seat angle. Chainstays on the longer side, so 448, 447. So a bit more stability there. And then reaches 481, 485. Decently high stacks on there as well. So you're really seeing the intentions of the bike. But you're getting 160 rear travel, and then I believe it is 170 up front. So this one, Fox 38, then your rear shock, Fox Float X. So you're getting that piggyback on there. SLX drivetrain. So decently, really well so. Good spec here on this one. So a little bit better than that TR in my opinion. So if you're looking for a bike that can absolutely send it, I would recommend it, but you're looking pretty long lead times in the third quarter for 2022. So pushing it in terms of waiting time on a lot of these bikes for this year. But yeah, as I said, when you're kind of going up those ones with the alloy builds with a top of the line spec, that's where you're getting the most value out of the common style bikes. So we'll jump into the AM29 now. We'll give those ones a value. Again, pretty good value, and nothing that's really blowing everything out of the water yet. But if you are looking at those top of the line builds with the best spec, then you're kind of getting towards that amazing value. But you do have to spend a little bit more to get there. So it's not going to be as tempting as for a lot more kind of mid-level riders to spend that much money, and you're not necessarily getting the best value on those entry-level builds. So like the Origin builds here, so 2600, 2700, which is really great, but bit of an oversight not having that dropper there, but you are getting really good spec for the money on these. So if you can handle that and buying a dropper second hand, then that's going to be probably the good option for you. So you're getting a Yari, so upgradable fork there. You're getting that select, just a normal select shock. So again, no lockout there, which on a big bike like this, it would be nice to have a lockout. They do pedal pretty well, but it's a hefty bike. So yeah, that would be nice to have that lockout there. But other than that, Assegai tires, dissected in the rear, so really good tire package. At least you're getting some good tires there. Dior drivetrain, so 12 speed. And then brakes on the entry-level build, you're getting MT501. So this kind of bike, you would probably want a little bit more powerful brakes, but again, it's an entry-level build on this one here. So digging into the geometry, so it's going to be pretty similar to that SX. So on that size large, 78-degree seat angle, 63.6 head angle. You're getting a really roomy reach, 495. So that's super, super long. To be honest, me at 6'1", if you don't want a super long bike, you just want to, your trails might necessarily be out and out super, super fast. You're probably almost better off in the size medium there, 470 reach, which is pretty standard. Most bikes these days, 470 to 480 on that size large. So if I would only recommend going the full size large, kind of around 6 foot, if you're going to be absolutely going as fast. And what this bike's designed to do, which is race enduro fast. So if that doesn't sound like you, then probably the TR is probably a better option as well. But if you do have tighter, more technical trails, then you could size down. But it really depends on, I would recommend riding a few bikes with different reach geometries and stuff like that, because you can't necessarily try it, you can. It's always best to try out a bike, get the sizing right, but online that might be hard to do. But I would try a few bikes, just kind of see what kind of sizing you prefer in terms of reach measurements these days. So jump back out of that. So let's take a look at the other bikes in the lineup. So again, that essential build's probably going to be the one for most people getting into it. I probably say that's the best one that I would probably go for. And then once you step up again, you're kind of looking at that signature build and the team and stuff like that, which is going to be where the best spec for the money is. But if you're looking for value in terms of the whole build and getting into essentially a race ready bike, probably that AM29 Essential is probably the one to go for. So quickly jump into that. So it's going to be Fox 38. Love to see that. Then you got that Float X, SLX drivetrain. Then in terms of brakes, what brakes are you getting? So SLX 4-piston. So this is a great bike. I think this one's probably the one that I would probably recommend price-wise for those. So again, getting towards that good value range, and then amazing at the top end if you're looking at those top end builds and you can afford those. But we'll go on to the Clash now, which is going to be a pretty specific bike. For a lot of people, it's more in that kind of free ride bike park side of things, but 27.5-inch wheels. So that's going to be for people that like the 27.5-inch wheels. No water bottle in the triangle, so that might be a deal breaker for some, but I think most people that are getting this bike are going to be doing a lot of shuttles, bike park lacks and stuff like that. So they're necessarily, the drop post might be not as much as a deal breaker for a lot of these people, but it really depends on what you're looking for. So plenty of models in the lineup. So looking at the Origin build again, for this kind of bike, I don't reckon the Origin build's probably worth it with that inline shock. It's you getting this bike, you're going to be descending pretty hard. So I would recommend going probably the next step up. So we'll take a look at the ride, which is $31.99. These are all US dollars as well. As I said earlier. So this one looks pretty good for the money. Let's dig into the specs a little bit more. So frame, 170 mils of travel, fork 180. So really setting the intentions of the bike. It's going to be more on that free ride end of the spectrum. Getting a super deluxe shock there. So really good shock there. Got the piggyback on there, which is going to be good, keeping it cool on those longer descents. Other than that, guide T brakes. Again, not my favorite 4-piston brakes, but should be enough power. But again, I would be a little bit hesitant to really push these brakes too hard until, I would probably prefer the next step up. Well, into probably the Kodars would be a good option on this bike. SX drivetrain, SX rear mech, the cassette, the PG. So you're getting that slightly heavier cassette there as well. So DHR, Assegai tires. So again, not too bad. There's a few things that I would probably change, but for the price, I think this is a good option, especially with that Z and that Super Deluxe on the rear there. So if you're getting into the builds for this one, that's probably a good one to check out. But yeah, again, spending that little bit extra is going to get you a bike that's going to absolutely push you pretty hard on the descents. These things will eat the chunk up pretty hard. So that, again, that essential build is probably where the value is at if you're starting to spend a little bit more money. So that X2 on there, 38s, SLX drivetrain dropper, proper good 4-piston brakes. I think that's probably my pick of the bunch there. So really good spec for the money there, $37.99. Yeah, we know kind of how I feel on these bikes, kind of like that good value as I spend a bit more. That's where the best value kind of comes into the side of things. But we'll jump into some hardtails now. And there you guys love hearing about hardtails. We took a good look at the Giant Fathom last night. So it would be good to take another look at these bikes. So I think we'll probably skip these essential builds because I really think the value is going to be where you spend a little bit more. That price point, $2,000. The price point $1,699 compared to that Giant Fathom. Yeah, I'd probably pick the Giant Fathom. You're getting that dropper post. It's going to be probably a little bit better bike. But I think for a lot of people, this we'll get into where we're looking at the essential build here. I think this is going to be a good option for around that 2,200 mark. I think this is a decent value hardtail. So it's a little bit weird on the geometry front. There's a few little quirks, but I think it's going to be a good option. I mean, if you're getting a hardtail, you want to have a bit more fun, so I don't mind it being a little bit on the shorter side. You still got a really slack head angle, so 64.5 degree head angle. Decent seat angle there, 74.5 for a hardtail especially. You're only getting a 450 mil reach, but the stack is really high, so that will offset that a little bit, but it would be nicer compared to that Giant, which was a fair bit longer in the reach department, which a lot more bikes are these days. It would be nice if that reach was a little bit longer on this bike, but it's going to be pretty stable with that that slacker head angle there. And you've got a bit more travel as well. So this one's going to be for someone who's really going to be wanting to push the descents pretty hard on their hardtail. I mean, it's a 150 mil travel fork. So this really is kind of more of a all mountainy, pushing towards like enduro end of the spectrum hardtail compared to a lot of those other ones that we're looking at that is a bit more trail oriented, but they are a bit more roomy in the reach, which I probably would prefer. So that's the only real quirk that I have, but you're still getting 4-piston brakes. Again, Guide T is not the best, but at this price point, Yari IC, so good fork, nice and stiff, upgradable to that Charger damper. NX drivetrain's a little bit heavy, but we'll get you the job done. You've got decent range there. Maxxis dissector tires, so it's a good value bike. So if you're looking at a hardtail and you want to push it pretty hard around that $2,000 mark, I think it's a good option. So we're going to give that one good value. Few little things I would change, but yeah, it's getting towards good, amazing value in terms of the hardtail front. Wouldn't be my first hardtail that I'd pick, but it's up there and probably like the top 5. So let's duck back out of that. And what have we got left? We've done the TR, done all those, done the Clash. Won't spend too much time on the DHs, but we'll quickly go through them. I don't ride DH, so I ride a bit more enduro, trail, or mountain, so I'm not the authority on downhill bikes, but their bikes are probably one of the better value downhill bikes in the market, proven on the World Cups. So you can't go wrong with these bikes. High pivot too. So it's going to really get out of the way of the chunky stuff, that rear wheel, rear axle path. It's going to be a great option. So if you're looking for a bulletproof kind of that privateer again build where you want bulletproof frame, great suspension, not going to let you down, but it's going to be super fast on the racetrack, I think it's going to be a good option. So we'll quickly jump into the spec. But you're getting Boxer, Super Deluxe, Select. Don't need anything more than that on this bike. No need for a lockout or anything like that. GX brakes, you're getting TRPs on there, so it should be pretty good too. Yeah, it's a great bike, especially compared to those other bikes we're looking at, say like the Demo with the Specialized and stuff like that. You're paying a lot more money, but for the performance of the frame and suspension on this one, I don't think you really need to spend much more. So in terms of downhill bikes, if you're looking for, I think, an excellent value downhill bike that performs up there with the best, I think this is probably the one to look for this year. But that was we looked at the 2022 model, and you're looking at those top end builds, like factory stuff for $6,000 compared to the Specialized we're looking at the other day. Granted, that was carbon, but yeah, I think you can't really complain with that. Then you got the FRS, which is going to be more for the kind of free ride kind of people. So won't stay on this one too long, but as you can see, the builds are pretty damn good value. This one's going to be more for the people that just like doing bike park laps aren't necessarily too concerned about the racing side of things. They want to have a bit more of a playful bike. I would recommend getting this one. But other than that, in terms of the bikes, there's not too much more to go through. One thing that I will quickly touch on that Commencal, credit where credit's due, they have done so many good things with their kids' bikes. There's no other brands that have done so much with their kids' bikes to make it so accessible for every kid. So you got stuff from downhill bikes, free ride bikes, e-bikes, trail bikes, hardtails, everything that you can think of. And they spec them smart as well, like super short cranks, just smart spec. Really. So if you're looking for a kid's bike that can smash the downhills and stuff like that, they're up there with the best. Like these bikes, the new Polygon Siskiyou D24, the Marin Rift Zone Junior and stuff like that. There's been good to see a lot more kids bikes out there. So if you're looking at a kids bike, those would be the ones that I would recommend. But yeah, definitely no complaints there having so many kids bikes. So a lot of other brands. I mean, kids need capable bikes too. So we'll quickly jump into the e-bikes because won't spend too much time on these because I'm not necessarily an e-bike channel, but I think it's good to take a quick look at them. There's going to be a lot more e-bikes coming out in the future. But again, lead time's pretty long here as well. But these are more e-bikes for people that are going to be descending pretty hard. So going, that's 21 model. We'll not look at that. We'll look at the 2022 ride. So you're kind of looking 5,799, which for an e-bike, I think that's pretty good. Again, US dollars in terms of pricing. But yeah, I think an e-bike for that kind of price, I think that's pretty good. So this is the TR. We'll take a quick look at this. So 140 rear travel, fork 150 up front. So same as the normal TR. You're getting motor-wise, I would say it's the EP8. Yep. So EP8 battery size, you're getting 630 watt hours. So it's the biggest Shimano battery, which is good to see. Decent spec too. Not too concerned about the drivetrain on these bikes because you chew through them so quickly. Inline shocks, so that might get a little bit hot on those longer descents. Fork-wise, probably that RockShox 35, so not a huge fan of that one. But I think if you're jumping onto an e-bike, e-bikes are expensive. So a lot of people do like just going for the entry-level build. I don't think this will disappoint you too much, but I think probably that essential build is probably going to be the one that I would go for as always. So I do like this one because it's got a full Dior drivetrain, which is good because that's all steel, so it won't chew through the cassette that quickly. But you're getting that piggyback shock there, Fox 38. It's an e-bike. You want a bit bellier of a fork. So this would be my pick of the bunch. I think this is the best one. And then specs, so you get an EP8, same battery, so that's 630 watt hour brakes. Shimano Dior 4 pistons. Love to see those. I think they're great. 203 rotors. It's good. Big rotors. You need the braking power in these bikes. But yeah, take a quick look at the geometry. So again, like it's a TR, so trail, and you're getting a 63.5 degree head angle. So that's crazy. 1286 wheelbase, so super, super long. Their chainstay's 453, so kind of on that moderate side for an e-bike, not the shortest, but with that wheelbase, this bike's clearly built for speed and stability. It's not going to be manualing everywhere and stuff like that. So we'll jump into... Sorry, this is the Metapower. So I don't know why I called it the TR. I'm sorry. So this is there's 27.5, 29-inch options. Then there's also the SX as well. But yeah, we won't, sorry, there is the TR as well. But yeah, so that makes sense. Okay, so then Metapower, the normal one's the AM essentially. Then the TR, we'll just quickly jump into one there, just so we get the geometry straight. So I'm not saying the wrong things for them. So on the TR, you're getting a 64.5 or 64.1. So close enough anyway. So it's pretty slack on there. So And then the travel on the AM, so the normal Metapower is 160 rear and then 170 front. So it's pretty much the same. The Meta TR is going to be the TR. So normal TR and the Meta Power is going to be similar to the Meta AM. And then you've also got the SX, which is going to be more on the side of the mullet as well. So pretty much the same. So if you want a little bit, we'll see if the chain stays are shorter. That's going to be thing. If you got that 27.5 inch in the rear, it would be nicer to see that chain stay a little bit shorter. So around 445, so a little bit shorter. So again, not an e-bike specialist, but in terms of spec that you're getting for the money, the e-bikes are pretty good. I wouldn't be complaining there, but they are, again, like all the other bikes, they're built for people that want to go super, super fast. And again, if you're getting an e-bike, I don't know if you're kind of prioritizing how playful they are. I think if you're looking for more of a playful e-bike, I think you'll go for something like the Orbea Rise or the Levo SL or Kenevo SL, that lighter style of things. But I know a lot of people that ride full powered e-bikes, but still appreciate them being a decent weight as well. So they are on the heavier side, longer side. So you will notice that they really need fast trails to get the most out of them. But yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. There is a few other things, like we can quickly jump in and have a look at the Absolute, which is their dirt jumper. But in terms of dirt jumpers, pretty decent price there, around that 1,400 kind of price mark. Not too bad, not quite as good value as that Trid, but I think the bikes are pretty cool. So that's 24 inch. We won't go into 24 inch. We'll look at this looks like the build most people will go for. So around 1,500, getting that Manital Circus fork. So decent fork there. In terms of brakes, you're getting a hydraulic brake. So I think this is a good option as well. Kind of that Trid, Alcatraz, this kind of bike. I think if you're looking for a great value dirt jump bike, I think these are a good option. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We'll jump off now, head back here. If you've got any questions about any of the bikes, again, this is a quick run through. This is kind of also me doing my research for the buyer's guides and stuff like that as well. I can kind of flow through these and kind of these are my first thoughts. Again, I'm just rushing through them. I'm not taking a good hard look at most of them, but I can kind of get a good idea of what I'm looking at. But yeah, these are Commencal, great value bikes. You can't really go wrong with them. They are on the longer side, so you really do need faster trails to get the most out of them. So if you're looking at that, take that into consideration. And if you're looking at an enduro bike and you're not necessarily pushing it super hard, I would look at the TR instead of the AM, because it's got a lot of travel, the AM, 160, 170, and then also the wheelbase is super, super long. So you really need to be a pretty active rider on the bike. So shifting your weight around a fair bit, be pretty strong to get the most out of these, and then have fast enough trails to justify that long wheelbase. So I would also try them out. The sizing is on the longer side, so you could potentially go a medium if you want a little bit more of a playful bike, but you still want a Commencal. But yeah, that would be something I'd take into consideration. But if you've got any other questions, leave a comment and I'll get around to answering them. But yeah, this is, again, my quick first thoughts. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. See ya.